In Fallout New Vegas, there are a lot of different weapons you can use to dispatch of your enemies and send their souls to the Shadow Realm. Some weapons have you using blunt force to make those who stand against you expire. There are some that'll chop them up better than Carol Baskins did to her husband. And most weapons will use a projectile of some sort to Alec Baldwin those who dare defy you. But what we're interested in today is none of that. I don't need a solid lead projectile to do my dirty work for me. I will harness the powers of Thor to rampage throughout the Mojave and answer the question that only T-Wolf77 asked in a MittenSquad video comment section, and that question is, can you beat Fallout New Vegas with only the Tesla cannon? Before we start, let's make a few things abundantly clear. Yes, you can beat Fallout New Vegas with the Tesla cannon. If Paul from MittenSquad can beat Fallout New Vegas without killing a single enemy, then of course you can beat the game with a weapon that can deal any sort of damage. As Paul has stated many times throughout his playthroughs, it's not a matter of being impossible or not, it's a matter of how absurdly bad or limiting the weapon itself can be, especially when it's your only choice. And because speech is a literal tactic that can be used to beat the game as a pacifist, should the run get overly complicated, you can always fall back on that and still complete the challenge regardless. I didn't do that because I'm not a pink panty wearing pansy. Yeah, go ahead and say that 5 times fast. I dare ya. Upon starting a new game, I woke up in Doc Mitchell's house, named myself appropriately while having a stroke and forgetting how to spell the word Tesla, and named myself just Nicola. Made my character the same as I always do because does it even matter, honestly? Assigned my points poorly because I'm an idiot and didn't know that energy weapons was affected by perception and for some reason figured it was based on intelligence. And for the first time in my miserable existence, maxed out luck because I was going to do something I've never tried before. I was going to gamble.
What?
Yes, shocking, I know. I have invested thousands of hours into this game on console and PC combined, and yet I have never once tried to earn caps at the casinos, but today, that was all about to not change all that much. As it turns out, even with luck at 10, if you are like me and don't know how to play blackjack, you can lose well over 1,000 caps. After signing my poorly thought out points, I sat down on Doc Mitchell's potentially urine-soaked couch and answered his interrogation questions. I picked barter, energy weapons, and medicines as my tag skills, and I chose skilled as it helped boost all my skills by 5 points at the cost of reduced experience gained by 10%, which is honestly a non-issue. I got my very own hand-me-down pit boy from the good doctor and made my way outside to face the Mojave wasteland. And before anyone has time to say it, yes, I am aware of the issue with the number of caps I have. You see, I have a mod installed that gives me tons of caps, and well, that's not exactly fair now, is it? I went to Chet to see if I couldn't buy and then sell things at a lesser value to reduce my caps, but then I saw the real number. That's not 61,118. That's 611,118 caps. Yeah, needless to say, I gave up real quick knowing it would take forever to reduce that number down. But you see, it's okay. I had a plan. A crazy plan, but a plan nonetheless. Can you guess what that was? If not, that's okay, I don't blame you. Not everyone is as brilliantly brilliant as I am, and it goes like this. First, I run down the street, heading towards Prim. Then I loot these bodies for their loot, find the Great Valley, take a leap of faith and dance with death as I try to sneak by Deathclaw Land, find RepCon headquarters, stop by Cassidy Caravan's smoldering remains to take what has always been mine, walk around this wall in a counterclockwise manner because it simply doesn't work if you do it clockwise, and finally discover Camp McCarran and use this exact mailbox to store my caps in it. What? Does none of that make any sense to you? You know what? No, forget it. The point is, I'm now broke, not a cap to my name. Or so you thought. You see, I had another plan. One that would allow me to make just enough caps to enter the Stripe? Who wrote this? You see, I had another plan. One that would allow me to make just enough caps to enter the Strip. All I would do is sell everything in my inventory that I didn't need, such as ammo, armor, any weapons that came with the DLC, and I would even sell any medical equipment that wasn't stim packs, doctor's bags, weapon repair kits, or Radaway, as everything else would be useless to me. And finally, once it was all said and done, I had over 3,100 caps to my name and a blackjack table calling out to me. But first, I had to get there. And here is where the aforementioned problem rears its ugly head. I have never played blackjack. I never really played with cards very much, so I don't know the values of the faced cards like jacks, queens, or kings. All I know going in is that the ace is supposed to be an 11, or at least that's what I've been raised to believe. So of course this plan was not exactly great. In my defense though, I did win some caps, just not many. After gambling my worries away, it was time to pull up my Wranglers and prepare for the worst encounter I was ever about to face. You see, from the very beginning, I had already decided that if I was going to do a Tesla cannon only run, it would only be with the Tesla Baton prototype, which is, for lack of a better phrasing, easier version to get. The standard variant in Vanilla of New Vegas only spawns in a few locations, and it can be sold to you by the Brotherhood of Steel, it can appear in their safe house, it can be sold by the Great Khan's armorer, at random of course, or it could be sold by the Silver Rush after you surpass level 16, whereas the prototype variant always spawns every single time in the same location, guarded by bloodthirsty robots at a vertebrate crash site surrounded by flesh-eating ghouls. The Brotherhood take too long to gain trust to sell me their gear, and likewise that means getting access to their safe house is also a bust. I don't have time to wait for the Great Khans to show me mercy and sell the thing to me, and leveling up to level 16 for the Silver Rush, much like the Brotherhood of Steel, takes too long, especially since I can't kill things to level up in the first place. So murderous robots and flesh-eating zombies it is for me. Yay, can't you tell how excited I am for that? Knowing this, I decided to prepare a little and see Julie Farkas to get whatever medical supplies I could. She didn't have as many as I would have liked, but beggars sometimes can't be choosers when shove comes to push. I went back to Good Springs and started my walk. It took some time, and at some points even got a little dangerous, as I started to lose focus in my objective, but I never gave up and told myself everything was going to be okay. And by the time I found the Legion safe house, I knew I was getting close and that I had to be careful. I had heard rumors that some Florida men were staying in this area, and I knew the dangers. I had to be careful not to let them nom off my face while I wasn't looking. And as I walked carefully, they found me and the face nommers all started to charge at me, forcing me to asthmatically run like I've never run before. I took another leap of faith as the great Todd Howard in the sky was guiding my hand, and I ran around a nearby farm, losing the Florida men, and was able to continue onward towards my goal. I was close, and I could smell the oil leaking out of those murderous robots. I tried to be sneaky, but I was as detectable as the fake ad for mobile games. I never stood a chance, and I had to make a call, even if it was a bad one. I ran as fast as my flabby little legs would let me, and I took a dive for the prototype weapon and cowered with great bravery behind the wreckage to avoid being blasted by all the hate mail the bots were trying to spam me with. I killed a few, honestly I did, but my efforts were not enough. Try as I might, I was no match for their brutality, and I died. I died so hard it was as ruthless as Mark Zuckerberg censoring someone with his Chinese fact checkers for exposing the truth on something, or even as ruthless as YouTube's monetization policy. With the new knowledge I had learned, I knew more drugs were needed if I was to survive round 2. So I went back to the casinos to gamble once more, and for a short while, I actually did fine. And then I started to not do so fine, and ultimately called it quits for gambling altogether. And spoiler alert for you, this was the last time during this run I went into the casinos to gamble. My next trip in would not be so friendly. I won't bore you with the replay because I had to make that run over again. I found the barnyard animals, made a save because I was not about to do that for a third time, and I made my approach to the crash site, hopeful that this would be my big break, and that I may finally be able to leave the site with their permission to have their precious weapon. They did not approve, but I fought well and this time made sure to keep my health up. My energy weapon skill was far below the requirement of 100 for this weapon, so I missed many of my shots. And once I was out, I made like Forrest Gump and ran as far as I could back to safety. Out of ammo and now low on caps, I needed to rectify both of these problems. So I went around and gathered some random loot and made my way back to the gunrunners and managed to get a hefty load of caps. With my newfound wealth, I decided to get ammo from the only place I knew, the Silver Rush. I bought all the ammo they had for it, and while still needing to level up and earn more caps to repair this monster of a weapon, I decided to kill the gunrunner guards outside the building. Once you kill them, on average, you can make anywhere between 3,500 to 4,100 caps with a high enough barter. Unlike mine, you could even earn more. The only problem is that the weapon degrades so fast that you have to be ready to keep paying out 20,000 caps to have it repaired, or have a good repair skill and some Tesla cannons to use for that purpose. And I did this for a while, killed the 2 guards, leave and wait for them to spawn back, kill them again, eventually go get ammo, come back, kill, and repeat. Eventually, I decided it would be a good idea to meet the boomers and to make money off the guy that makes a bet for 600 caps if you can afford the wager. I ran as fast as I could and made it without getting hit. I guess I really should thank those men from Florida. I spoke with Mother Pearl, took the dead paladin's loot, and got my 600 caps from George. And then it happened. The first of many to come. My game crashed. And I don't mean just any crash. My desktop locked up so hard it burned the game onto my screen. Task Manager wouldn't come up, using the sacred Alt F4 didn't work, and it forced me to have to hard reboot my computer. I was devastated to say the least, because up until this point I had been playing for around 2 hours, recording the entire time, and here my computer locks up, and my only choice is now to shut down and lose the footage and reset. It was a hard choice, but I had to make it. I shut down my computer and got it back up and running. To my surprise, the recording was intact and this run saved to continue. Oh, thank you, Todd Howard. I knew you didn't abandon me yet. After not punching a hole in my wall, I went to Prim to kill a few convicts to gain some experience. My energy weapon skill wasn't at 100 yet, and because of that, the weapon was missing more shots than you could count. I freed the deputy, had no intentions of finding a replacement, decided to get the remaining 2 Brotherhood of Steel locations done, such as the one at Black Mountain and RepCon headquarters. Sold what I didn't need to the gunrunners, killed the gunrunners, sold their stuff, don't worry, I won't tell you every time I kill them or visit the vendor. Bought more ammo from the Silver Rush, and wouldn't you know it, the game crashed again. This problem has never happened to me on console. This is why I hate playing on inferior platforms. I got the game back up and running this time without rebooting and continued from where the game crashed, and went and got medical supplies from the followers, went to Black Mountain, and had a strange issue where there was no one there to fight except the Nightkin that guard the entrance. I had a heck of a time fighting the one with the missile launcher, but he too eventually fell to my lightning. In a matter of minutes, Tabitha was dead and Black Mountain uninhabited. I gave the Brotherhood of Steel a visit finally to let them know that their teapots died. I scared a ranger, then I got accepted into the teapot family. I left and decided to hit the casinos for the last time. I won't go over everything, but I murdered them. I killed them like Christmas kills Thanksgiving. I made every person there a dusty powder after pumping their bodies with millions of amps of electricity. And it was worth it, especially at the tops. They fought the hardest, but even they couldn't stand up to the power of Thor's physically inferior cousin 68 times removed. I finally figured it was time to meet Mr. House and start his questline because I have decided to side with him. Normally, I choose the NCR, but I felt spicy for this one. He showed me his demonstration, told me to accept the invite for the fort, I spoke to Little Caesar, went down into the bunker for House, activated his Mark II upgrade, and I returned to the Lucky 38 for my next assignment. He wanted me to get the boomers on his side, and because I already have access to their base, that was easy sailing. I went to Helios 1 to grab salvage, quickly killed off the ants with Loyal's device, repaired the array, healed their wounded, listened to the boy tell tales, and was ready for the lady in the water. By now, you should know how this works. I went to Camp Golf, swam to the bomber, and I lifted it to the surface. I went back and got their loyalty to me and Master House, and we were almost done with our preparations. We still needed to put an end to the Brotherhood of Steel. I went back and committed a crime worse than genocide. They fought hard, harder than any person has yet to fought, and they gave me a lot of ouchies and boo-boos, but after a very long fought battle, I eventually left and the bunker was destroyed. I returned to House to tell him of my success in Hidden Valley, and we were ready to move on with our next step. He told me to go to the El Burrito sub-shop station to plant an override chip. I visited Veronica along the way and blasted her in the face so hard it threw her over the rails and turned her into dust. And in my defense, she will be with her brothers and sisters now. So I see this as a heartwarming thing. And with that, I continued on to the station where just a few moments later, the chip was planted and I had a date with Hoover Dam. But before that, I had Old Lady Gibson repair my gear in order to not bust close to the end of the game. I returned to House, and it was time to wrap things up. So far, things were looking good. I went inside, convinced 2 morons there was danger afoot, uploaded House into the mainframe, went back outside to make my way over to the Legate's camp, and I was actually unsure of how this fight would go. But it turns out I had nothing to fear in the end because it only took 4 hits to connect, and the Legate was turned to ash. The poor fool wasn't even able to try and hit me, he was so scared. I cleaned up the mess and had only one thing left to do, which was deal with General Oliver. We debated the moral and ethical boundaries of life and death, and I convinced him to stand down and that New Vegas was ours. And with that, I was able to beat New Vegas with only the Tesla Cannon prototype variant. If you liked this video or thought it was a somewhat good homage to MittenSquad, go ahead and give it a like. If you didn't like it or didn't think it was a good homage, then feel free to give it a dislike. I don't have a Discord server, I don't have a Twitter account. My name is Michael and I'm not with MittenSquad, and I hope you all have a fantastic day.